What's up, B? So you want to work with your ancestors? Well, did you know there are many different types of ancestors? They're not just one collective. There's many different types that you can tap into. You don't have to just work with your blood ancestors if you don't feel connected to your family. If you incarnate in a family that you came to end, or you came to change, and you don't agree with a lot of the things that the bloodline has done, and you don't see any true understanding or power with working with those blood ancestors, then let's go to a different collective. Let me share with you the different collectives there are. So you have animal and plant ancestors, trees, the grass, flowers, the fish, bears. All of these different animals and all these different plants, they carry different characteristics. They carry different energies. They carry different downloads within them that allows us to take in different messages from them when they show up. For example, the oak tree. The oak tree represents stability. It represents the home. It represents foundation. It represents growth and prosperity. You know, when you are accompanying across these different energies in nature and you're wanting to understand what they're wanting to tell you about, it's more so of listening with your heart than listening with your mind, because your mind is going to tell you what it thinks it means about when it sees these different things. And if you're not someone who has a very broad imagination, you're going to be very limited in the way that these energies can show up for you and to you. But if you have a more openness of what these energies can tell you, then the more broader they can give you different messages. Okay? So that's just plants. That's just animal ancestors. So what other ancestors do we have? So you do have what they call soul ancestors. And these ancestors can be a combination of deities, elementals, plants, animals, whatever, because these are energies that you have connected with based on the different lives that your soul has lived, right? Okay, stay with me. So those are soul ancestors. Then you have what I call, I'm trying to think of all the different names that I named, how I categorize the different ancestors. So just bear with me type shit. So we talked about plant ancestors, we talked about animal ancestors, we talked about blood, which I started off with, so I didn't go down into it. Blood ancestors are basically the ancestors that you have for being born within this bloodline. So because I was born within the bloodline of Harolds, I have connection to the Harolds ancestry, you know? And I want to piggyback on that with the blood ancestors to talk about lineage ancestors. And lineage ancestors are ancestors that are around you because you was born within a certain bloodline or because you're connected to a certain family. And so, for example, if you have a stepdad and you was born by that stepdad, you was raised by the grandmother, you was raised by his mother, his grandmother, and all these different things. And when they pass, yes, you definitely will have access to connection to those energies. You can definitely put those energies on your ancestor altar. And they will definitely be happy to help you because they helped you in this life. They're connected to you, you know? And so those are what we call lineage ancestors. And you have these things called, it's another word that I use, but I'm just going to use a different word today, which are called affinity ancestors. And these are beings that you work with because you have a connection to the affinity they have. Like, for example, music. You call onto the energy of Ray Charles, you know, because you want to learn how to play the piano. You're blind as well. You feel connected to him very strongly. Every time you listen to his music, you just feel the strong connection to this man. And so you call onto him. So where he may not be your direct ancestor, he's still an ancestor because anything that came before you is quote unquote an ancestor, right? Okay, so then the last ancestor collective that I want to talk about is the cosmic ancestors. And these are ancestors that are perceived as what we call star seeds, you know, or beings that come from different dimensions and from different star systems. And so they will be the Pleiadians, the Arcturians, the Lyrans, those type of beings that connect with you and aid you in different forms that they do as well. When you're working with different energies and entities, I also want to talk about the mythic ancestors. I call them mythical because these are the energies that we only hear about in mythology, like elementals, sprites, fae, dragons, you know, these beings. And so if you call them different things, that's beautiful too. But these are how me and my ancestral collective sat down and we categorized these different entities that you can work with. And so recognize that when you're working with different ancestral collectives as an ancestral venerator, you're venerating these energies to not only better yourself, but to better the lineage of the ancestry as well, the better the ones around you. And so these energies can all help and aid you in different ways, but you have to understand how they can help you. Understand that the water spirits will help you in a way that may be similar to fire, but it's its own way. Water flows in its own way. Fire flows in its own way. Air flows in its own way. Earth flows in its own way. Your grandmother did things her own way than Bobby Joe did. Your granddaddy may know how to build houses, and he can help you find you a house. He can help you find a contractor to find you a house. While Grandma Aunt Sue, who always made clothes, she could be the one who helps you get the connections you need and the tools you need to make those clothes. You see how it's working? You want to get some money, you working with the water spirits, because money is like currency, current, the water. Or you work with earth spirits because look at how many jewels and riches is within the earth. You want that money fast, so you're going to bring some fire spirits in there, because look how quickly fire moves. Look how quickly air moves. You can use the air spirits too. So you see how you can use these energies for similar things, but they're coming in their own way. You got it? And so that's just a short and snippet. If you want to learn more about the different ancestral collectives, I do have an ebook on my site, thebspot.com. B-Spot with 2 T's, you feel me? And you can also go get that ebook and stay tuned for more. It's your boy B. Ozra Bunte, and that's the message.